Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back with another how-to. Today I'm going to be reviewing removing rotor screws from rotors. Now, typically I do vehicle-specific DIYs, so it'll be a specific job for a specific vehicle. Although, for this particular job, removing rotor screws, it's pretty much the same situation across the entire board. Doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is. Really, the only variants that come between vehicles is maybe it's a Phillips head, maybe it's an Allen key, or maybe it's a Torx bit. Other than that, it's all the same process. So they are sometimes very troublesome. Sometimes you might strip them out. Sometimes they don't come out first try, whatever the case may be. So I want to review how I get them out. I got a pretty high efficiency rate at getting them out. I would say maybe 90 to 95% of the time I get them out without any issues. But I'm also going to touch on how to get them out if you do have an issue. So what I'm going to do is insert clips from some of my how-tos on rotor screw removal. So I'll show you me getting them out successfully, as well as ones that I've encountered that weren't that easy to come out and I had to approach them a different way in order to get them out. So let's get into it now, guys. All right, guys, so first to touch base on rotor screws, really their sole purpose for existence is to keep them on the car while it's going down the assembly line. So it's to prevent the rotors from falling off and keeping them on the car while in production going down the assembly line. Why some manufacturers choose to utilize these and some can get away without doing it is beyond me. But that is what the purpose of these screws are. Now, a lot of people would say and recommend to use a manual impact driver to remove rotor screws. And although they do work, I am not a fan of them, especially here in the Northeast where you might encounter rust, or if you might encounter a stripped head or whatever the case may be. I am not a fan of the manual impact driver. In fact, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 times I have had a car brought to me for that specific reason, that they tried to get these rotor screws out with a manual impact driver. It ended up stripping them and they didn't come out. Then I would have to go in and get them out with one of the methods outlined in this video. So like I said, in this video, I am going to be reviewing how I get them out successfully, which is with heat, and how I would suggest doing it, and also how to get them out if you encounter a stripped head or something of that nature. From my experience, really the only time I've had issues with rotor screws were ones that were taken out prior. So somebody had already taken them out, put them back in too tight, or the head was a little bit compromised or stripped or whatever the case may be. But when you approach them correctly and they're still intact stock and never messed with, you can pretty much get them out perfect every time if you approach them how outlined in this video, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so first thing we're going to do here is review getting these rotor screws out successfully. I'm going to insert a couple different clips from a couple different vehicles of me getting them out successfully, and I approach them the same every time, and that is with heat. So let's go ahead and get into it. And the first thing I like to do with vehicles that are equipped with these bolts holding in the rotor is go ahead and get these off. So just to make it easier on ourselves, I'm going to hit it with the torch for a second just to give them a little heat to make it easy as possible for them to shoot out, and then we're going to go ahead and back them out. So let's go ahead and heat these up now, guys. All right, so we got them heated up. Let's go ahead and shoot them off. Right out, guys. So heat always makes it easier. I actually got lucky on the other side and I was able to get it out with a Mat Pro. So this is a Mat Pro propane style torch. So you could try one of these or a propane style torch, but if you don't get this first try, you're probably going to strip that out. So I'm gonna go ahead, heat that up for about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to take an impact with a Phillips on the end and we're going to fire these right out. All right, guys, got the torch going. We're just going to let it heat it up for about a minute or two, and then we're going to fire that thing right out. All right, guys, I got that top one pretty warm, so I got a Phillips on a little extension on the end of my impact. I'm putting a little bit of force pressure into it, right out. And there it is. We're going to do the same thing for the other one. All right, you can see we got both of those rotor retaining Phillips screws right out of the rotor. So I'm going to approach this and hopefully get this fired out like I did on the other side with no issue. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to heat it up, hit it with the impact, and hopefully it comes out like the opposing rear side. So let's get this thing out. All right, guys, heated that thing up for about 1 minute. It's about what I did on the other side and fired out. So I'm just holding it in nice and tight. Let's pray. Yes. There we go, guys. So this is all right. So there was some footage of getting the rotor screws out successfully, and all it comes down to is a little bit of propane or map torch and an impact, and that's it, guys. So I would suggest doing that every time. Try to get it out. You know, just approach it carefully, and you know, as long as you take your time, heat it up good, you probably have a pretty high success rate with getting these out every time. I also would like to note, if you have access to acetylene, you can use acetylene. I did have access to acetylene for a short period of time, and I did get out rotor screws that were not only fine, just, you know, quick glow them up red because I had it out, and I shoot them out in 2 seconds, but you can also do it to get out troubled ones. So if you have one that's stripped or anything like that, you can use acetylene to get it out. So just a quick note there, you can use acetylene either way, if it's troubled or not. Yes, you can use it. Just obviously tread carefully because you're glowing up red. It's a lot more aggressive than a propane or map torch, all right? So if you have access to acetylene, you can use that. But if not, we're going to get into the method that most would choose to get a troubled rotor screw out, and that would be to drill it out. So here's me drilling out a bad rotor screw that was a little bit troubled when I came across it, and then I fully stripped it when I tried to get it out. So let's get into that. All right, guys, hoping this goes a little smoother than the other side. Nope, it kind of moved, but it did strip. Seems to be really in here though. It did budge a hair, but yeah, she stripped. Well, this car seems to want to fight me. I really never have issues with the heat. Usually always gets them out. It's pretty, you know, like I said, almost fail safe, but guess we're going to drill this one out too, guys. So. All right, guys, so here's our stripped bolt. I have a unit bit on a drill, so let's have a drill with a unit bit. I'm going to start by widening this hole up. All right, so all right, so we got it widened. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a drill bit. Okay, now I'm not sure what size this is because it's not marked for some reason, but it's almost the same size as the bolt itself. It's just a hair smaller. So you just want to get a nice size drill bit that's, you know, thick, good metal, and is about the size of the bolt itself. All right, so now see how I'm starting to get in there? It should start taking from where you made your hole on the unit bit, and then you can start drilling it out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, keep drilling for a little bit, and hopefully we can get this thing worn down without spending too much time on it. All right, guys, got that thing dug out pretty well. Probably been on it for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, so I think it should be good. What we should be able to do, since it's like all broken up and pretty flimsy and thin, I should be able to just hit it with a mallet on the rotor once everything is off, and it should free up. And now we have access to the rotor. So this thing might be rust welded to the hub. So even if you had the screw out, it still might be rust welded. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a few blows and see if it frees up and see if I got that drilled out enough. I might have to drill a little bit more, but let's go ahead and check it out and see if we can get this rotor off. There we go, guys. Just needed some blows. Now, you might have to do this, even like I said, even if you got that out, you probably might have to do that because it gets rusted in here to the hub. Okay, you can see where I chewed that thing up. She definitely came off. The same deal on the other side. It looks exactly the same. So there we go, guys. Everything is completely disassembled. Rotor is off. All right, so I hope that helped shed some light on rotor screws from all aspects, whether you're just looking to get it out successfully or whether you need some insight how to get it out after the fact, whether it be stripped or if it's rusted. Hopefully something I outlined or touched base on in this video helps. It gives you some insight on how to approach it and get it done efficiently. Like I said in the video, heat is the best thing for it. You could probably even get away with using an impact driver if you just heat it up first, all right? Especially when you're in, the Rust Belt or the Northeast or Canada or wherever you're at that has a lot of salt and it's prone to rusting or anything of that nature. Use heat. I promise you, you only got really one shot doing this. So to avoid stripping it out, hit it with some heat. Propane little torches are cheap. Heat it up, get it out, and don't deal with fighting it after the fact. Try to get it out successfully from the start. So I hope this helped with getting rotor screws out. Make sure you stay tuned because you never know when I might be doing a video like this again. And until next time, guys.